If the first temptation is to try to lay hold of equality with God, the second temptation happens when we get caught with our hand in the proverbial cookie jar. We are tempted to blame it on someone else in order to avoid taking responsibility for ourselves and our actions. It is exactly what happens in the story of Adam and Eve. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. To me, this story epitomizes the human fault, as theologian James Gustafson put it. We read the first part of the story yesterday. It was the story of a serpent tempting Eve to eat the fruit of one of the trees from which she and Adam had been forbidden to eat. Contrary to popular imagination, the temptation to eat the fruit was not about sex. It was about the desire to be like God, which is to say, to stand on equal footing with God. Having eaten the fruit, they quickly realized that this knowledge, the knowledge of good and evil, is not what it is cracked up to be. They suddenly become aware of the fact that they are naked and they make clothes to cover themselves. Now God returns to the picture. Let's pick up the story at this point. They heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze, and the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God among the trees of the garden. But the Lord God called to the man and said to him, "Where are you?" He said, "I heard the sound of you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself." He said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree which I commanded you not to eat?" The man said, "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me fruit from the tree, and I ate." Then the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this that you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent tricked me, and I ate." This is a tour de force of passing the buck. Let's leave aside some of the curious details of this scene, such as how it is that God walks in the garden and doesn't know where Adam is. God's first question is already met with dissembling. "Where are you?" asks God. "I heard the sound of you in the garden," replies Adam, "and I was afraid because I was naked, and I hid myself." Really? In the first place, Adam has already covered his nakedness with a fig leaf loincloth. He's not naked, but he is afraid. He's afraid of what's coming next. Now the other shoe drops, and Adam makes an even bigger mess of things. "Who told you that you were naked?" asks God. And now God asks, and I imagine in the same voice a parent would ask a child who's been caught with a hand in the cookie jar, "Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you not to eat?" This is now decision time for Adam. He has a number of options open to him. If modern-day crisis managers were to advise him, they would tell him, tell it early, tell it all, and tell it yourself. In other words, get ahead of the problem. Don't compound the problem by lying about it or making weak excuses. Adam would qualify as the poster child for how not to handle a crisis. Not only does he attempt to minimize his culpability, but he actually tries to blame others for his choice. Listen again to what he says while I exaggerate for effect. "The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me fruit from the tree, and I ate." It's God's fault for giving him the woman. It's the woman's fault for giving him the fruit. And when God confronts the woman, she says, "The serpent tempted me, tricked me, and I ate." The story rings true to me. It sounds exactly like what small children do when caught doing something they've been told not to do. But not only small children, all too many adults never learn the lesson. The temptation when we're cornered is to deflect blame onto someone else, which always makes things worse. Some years ago, there was a humorous decision flowchart that made the rounds of offices around the country. It began with something like, "The boss asks you if you made a mistake. If the answer is no, then problem solved. If the answer is yes, that you did make a big mistake, then the next step is this: First, assign blame. The fact that this was so funny is a testament to the fact that we see it happen all the time. None of us wants to get into trouble. It is only natural to want to deflect and to assign blame to others. But it is a temptation we would do well to stare down. So, if the first temptation is to want to stand on equal ground with God, the second is to blame others for our failures. And it's all there in just a few verses in Genesis. Tomorrow, the devil made me do it. Or did he? But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do, this day and in all the days ahead.